President Donald Trump gave the longest State of the Union-style speech in U.S. history, celebrating the renewal of the American dream. Democrats protested in disjointed and embarrassing fashion. The official response was weak. And Zelensky announces he's finally ready to negotiate for peace. I'm Tony Kinnett from the Daily Signal's Tony Kinnettcast, syndicated nationally at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. This is the Daily Signal's top news in 10. Well, last night, the President of the United States set a record for the longest address to a joint session of Congress, just over 1 hour and 40 minutes, besting the prior record of Bill Clinton at 1 hour and 20 minutes. What was this speech filled with? It was filled with three things. Number one, it was filled with a lot of clapping from Republicans in Congress, a lot of cheering. There's a lot of good feelings on the right side of the aisle. Number two, it was filled with President Trump basically having the time of his life. He was telling a lot of stories, he was sharing a lot of accomplishments, and he was throwing all kinds of jabs at the Democrats. The third thing that the address was filled with were the angry, stony boos, yells, weird camp t-shirts, auction card signs that the Democrats were holding up, and the shaken cane of Al Green, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The key takeaways from this presidential address can be boiled down to a celebration of the American spirit and common sense, innovation and industry, and also the passing of certain things President Trump finds to be a result of the American mandate of the November election. And the president spent a good amount of time outlining all of the things that he has done so far, including revealing a few surprise things that were not yet known to the American public. One of these things was the announcement that several nations in Asia, as well as, of course, the United States, would be joining together to build an Alaskan pipeline for oil and natural gas that President Trump promised these countries were pumping trillions of dollars into.
My administration is also working on a gigantic natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA.
He also announced that the United States had worked with the Pakistani authorities to arrest the terrorist who plotted the bombing of Abbey Gate during the Afghanistan withdrawal that resulted in the death of 13 U.S. troops.
He is once again standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
An expected announcement, the President of the United States told the assembled crowd that the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, had sent a letter that day not only agreeing to sign the U.S. minerals deal, but also agreeing to enter peace negotiations with the United States and Russia. This is the first time that President Zelensky has agreed to enter peace negotiations of any kind.
Today I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
One of the largest stories of the evening was, unfortunately at least for their party, the Democrats. The Democrats in the House and the Senate made absolute fools of themselves in this particular address. And I'm not just talking about politics themselves. The manner in which they protested was disjointed, it was awkward, it was embarrassing to watch, and there was not really any clear theme that all of the members of the House and the Senate Democrats were following in order to make their case as to why they didn't like Donald Trump or his administration. So there was a group of House Democrats that all decided to wear pink in order to, praise women's rights, although that wasn't expressly or explicitly stated. And it ended up looking really silly given that the House and Senate Democrats just voted against protecting women's rights by keeping biological men out of women's sports and locker rooms. That's not the most embarrassing moment of the evening, though. There were a series of camp t-shirts that said things about resisting and that kings don't live here, as some individuals got up and tried to stomp out and possibly broke a heel in the process of doing so. You had Democrats that would shout boo at really awkward times. You had Elizabeth Warren clapping for the funding of Ukraine, which that doesn't sound, particularly out of sorts until you realize that of the things that Democrats in the House chamber that evening clapped for, that's it. The Democrats only clapped for Ukraine foreign aid spending. The Democrats made a particular point not to clap for the honoring of a child with brain cancer who President Trump made an honorary Secret Service agent. They didn't clap for the apprehension of the Abbey Gate terrorist. They didn't clap for the returning home of a United States citizen from the prisons of Russia. They didn't clap for a number of things that are apolitical, that are benign, that are something that during Democrat-run State of the Union style addresses, Republicans clap for dutifully. But the Democrats sat there in stony silence, except for one instance. Well, two instances. In one instance, you of course had Senator Elizabeth Warren, who was clapping for Ukrainian foreign aid. Number two, you had Representative Al Green, the representative who tried to file impeachment proceedings because he accused Trump of
dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done.
Stood up in front of the entire joint session of Congress and started shaking his cane and yelling. Speaker Johnson, after telling the representative to sit down, because again, it is a House, Senate combined session. They are in business. This is an official event. This isn't a gathering at the local potluck.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
Representative Green continued to yell and shout and scream, and Speaker Johnson had to use the Sergeant-at-Arms to remove him from the House of Representatives.
Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
The official Democrat response was delivered by Senator Alyssa Slotkin from Michigan, who tried to suggest that because she was in a state that Trump won, and though she won also as a Democrat, that this made her some type of all-American, shucksy, folksy gal who could really communicate with both sides. It fell flat immediately when you consider two things. Number one, that Alyssa Slotkin is one of the more acrid Democrats in the Senate confirmation hearing process, but also she votes with Democrats 100% of the time. The moment that completely threw her entire response off the rails was right at the beginning, when she suggested that the Department of Government Efficiency's cutting of waste, fraud, and abuse from federal spending was somehow a kickback for billionaires.
President Trump is trying to deliver an unprecedented giveaway to his billionaire friends. He's on the hunt to find trillions of dollars to pass along to the wealthiest in America.
Now, I know I didn't even scratch the surface of the spectacle of last night's address. So head down to the description and click the link to make sure you're subscribed to the Tony Kinnett Cast. And join us tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern when we bring in some great guests and tear into the conservatives' joy and the libs' gnashing of teeth in full detail. I'm Tony Kinnett, and this has been the Daily Signal's Top News in 10. Take care.